Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the IESF World Esports Championship qualifiers here at the Europe region. Once again, we have seen the Asia and Oceania qualifiers. This time around, it's going to be about 5 more teams out of the Europe region. We've seen 6 games yesterday, 6 explosive games, 6 record-breaking games as well. And today will all be concluded. Lucky enough, I'm not alone. Kovo's there to guide me through the day as well. Kovo, give me, just straight up, give me your thoughts for today. Talk to me about the leaderboard situation.
The leaderboard situation is super interesting. Today is the day where we close it all out, right? And today is the day where we're sending 5 teams to the World Esports Championship. And it's been a day of the favorites so far, I feel like. It's been a lot of the favorites towards the top. It's really just Serbia that's not really been towards the top. But we have 5 spots. And I think we've had 4 teams, roughly, all of the favorites that were performing really well. And I feel like there is a space on that leaderboard for a team that we didn't expect to go. Right now, I think that's Poland. Yeah, we didn't really have them on our cards at all, and they've been performing really well. But we're gonna send someone. We're gonna send someone to the World Esports Cup that we didn't expect before the game started. So who that's gonna be, I'm not sure, but it's an exciting prospect for me.
Yeah, once again, we'll take a look at the leaderboard situation in detail later on. But yes, there's kind of the 4 big favorites in there. 4 out of, I want to say 6, maybe 7 big favorites, which is obviously Turkey, who's had that massive 24-25 kill game yesterday, which was, if you haven't watched it, a sight to behold. I don't think we've seen anything like this in the IESF World Esports Championship qualifier up until this day. Once again, I can only tell you guys to watch it so many times, but it's been nothing short of an amazing game. They played this to absolute perfection. I think there's a learning aspect in there, I think, for almost everyone. We'll take a look and have a quick recap about yesterday in case you haven't watched the games, or even in case you have, to once again get you back up to speed on what's really happened yesterday. Because as you said, there's some big favorites in there. Let's take a look at the leaderboard situation before we go into detail. Ukraine, for example, who's had a massive comeback yesterday. They started off rather slow, but they got back into things with 2 dinners in the last games. And once again, 76 points might be enough. We talked about this yesterday. We were thinking the cutoff point was going to be somewhere around 85 to 90. So with them being on 76, they don't need to do all that much anymore.
No, they really don't. I think they're pretty much safe at this point, and they don't have to do anything anymore. But they will, of course, continue to play the game, and they will continue to dominate some of these lobbies. So they are a force to be reckoned with. France in 3rd with 64 was a team that impressed us yesterday. I think they had 5 very, very good games and then ended it with a 0-pointer. And then there's quite a reasonable gap below them. 14 points difference to Poland in 50. And then Belarus and Romania only 3 points away from that. So right around the cutoff, it gets really exciting. It gets really interesting. And I even want to put Moldova into that pack. Because they have also consistently been getting kills yesterday, consistently putting points on the board. So those are the main teams I feel like you're looking for. That pack from 4th to 7th, that's the most contested right now. And then somebody below that with a big game could push themselves into that pack.
Yeah, I quickly want to touch on Belarus for the time being, because in my opinion, that's the most surprising team out of the top 5. I mean, even Poland has some experienced players. Ket, for example, we talked about him. He played for Unicorns of Love. He had his quick, I want to say his quick showing at the top of the European scene as well. Unfortunately, he's not really playing as actively anymore, or at least at the top of the scene. But he's at least got big stage experience. I'm not sure the same can be said about Belarus as much. I feel like they're the biggest upset team right now in the top 5. I wouldn't have expected them to be there. So for them to have that big of an impact right now in the overall leaderboard situation, to me, once again, is quite a surprise. And I think it just speaks volume about how good some of these players are and some of these teams. I mean, obviously, Tenshik is a player that obviously cannot be underestimated, but he was never, I'd say at least, he was never, at least at some point, never as successful as maybe the rest of the players from Poland. So I'm gonna have to wait and see how that one's gonna turn out, especially since in terms of placement points as well, they've been rather far behind in comparison to, actually they're rather far up front, but that's never a good sign if you have placement points, but the runner-ups do not really have that and just, frag through the lobby, because at some point you can't really predict placement points anymore, right? And there's going to be bad rounds that follow you. So someone who's just been fragging out throughout these games, going to be a little bit of an advantage. And I'm talking about Romania and Moldova here.
100%. It's the more consistent way to get points as we will go through the day. And as we're having a look at the schedule for today, we're starting off on SANHOK again. We're playing 3 Erangels, 2 Miramars. I want to say something that I think is very true for almost every tournament, but it's especially true when only a small part of the lobby will have a chance to qualify. The later on you're getting in the tournament, the wilder these rounds are going to get, the less predictable these rounds are going to get, and the less you're going to be able to play a structured game when it comes to your position on the map and your rotations that you're pulling off, because you just don't know what people are doing anymore when maybe almost the bottom 10 teams in the last game, for example, won't be playing for anything anymore. So, and then the top 3 might also be already cemented. So you want to get your points early, but you also want to be able to win fights consistently, win fights cleanly, because like you said, it's the easier way to stay consistent, and it's the easier thing to pull off in a lobby that's changing every round.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Also, from everything we've seen so far coming out of the top teams, that has specifically ring true even further, because all these top teams have only gotten to these big rounds because they were just fragging out at the edges, because they were just individually superior to, I want to say, especially all these other lesser experienced teams in this lobby and lesser experienced countries, especially. But yeah, is that going to change really? No, that's the big part, right? If you have that superiority once, I feel like you're not letting it slip away. And to some degree, you can't even. You're not getting worse over the course of a day, right? It's quite the opposite, actually. I feel like with the amount of confidence that Turkey or the Ukraine has now, I think they'll just be plowing through this even more because, as we said, being in a 70-point plus stage right now, with I want to say only 6 more games, almost securely gives you a qualifying spot. I mean, maybe they need 1, maximum 2 double-digit rounds, and they are 100% inside the top 5. There's just no turning this situation around, especially with how many points now Ukraine has gotten in the last round. Here's France, by the way. We talked about them. Kind of a surprise to you at least. Wasn't a surprise to me. I watched these scrims now happening over the course of the last months, and these guys, obviously very experienced roster, have been a part of the European scene for the last 4 years, I want to say. Even back in 2020, I think these guys were already playing together, at least in some form around the European scene. Maybe not in that specific lineup, but at least all of them have been playing in professional teams, and them coming together here, especially Victor Navalov. I kind of want to say Victor Navalov, because honestly, now that I've read through it, everyone has shown us glimpses of excellence in the games yesterday. They've all been nothing short of amazing. So I want to see them specifically today be even more consistent in late game, because they've gotten to late game, they fragged out, but they haven't been able to close out any of these games. Not even close, actually. So that's my big hope for France today. Close out a game, show everyone that you can finish off games, and if you get into the grooves of things, maybe even take the 1 spot.
Yeah, there's a chance that happens. They're certainly in reach, only 10 points behind first, but they will have to step it up a little bit, like you said, and stay consistent as they were able to do in the first games. And then towards the bottom side of the leaderboard, we have a lot of teams that are consistent, but just consistently mediocre. And I think Germany has been an example of that. I feel like they've been getting a few eliminations almost every match, right? They had 4 or 5 in 4 matches yesterday, I think. So they're getting some of their kills, but they really don't seem to figure out how to move into these circles or how to transition from a tough fight into a salvage, into something where you can still get a few points, right? The game on Miramar came to mind, where yes, they win the fight in Monte, but they never make it out of Monte because it just takes a little too long, and they can't really figure out where to put the smokes down and how to make the cross. And it's tough. It's tough. This is a strong lobby. This is a lobby that you need. You're battling versus a lot of experience and a lot of individual skill. So I don't blame them. But yeah, it's just there's a little bit missing. There's just that little bit of survivability missing to put them into contention here for now.
Yeah, I agree. We need more. I feel like it's a similar story for plenty of these teams down the second part of the leaderboard. Not only Germany, but also Serbia. We haven't touched on Serbia quite as much as maybe I would have liked. Such an experienced roster. Be reminded, they qualified last year, and I think deservingly so. Koa, especially in Bishkek, have now been able to grab some real big international experience that they even kind of didn't have last year, and they still made it work. So this time around, it's really surprising to me that that performance doesn't really match what they have done outside of the IESF competition. And I want to see them kind of get on par a little bit more. They need to come up with a win. I talked to Mellors yesterday, also crazy experienced player. I talked to him. He literally played in PSL America this season. I talked to him, and he said if they win the first game, there's gonna be a comeback, 100%. Otherwise, we'll have to wait and see how things go, obviously. But he has no doubt in his mind, as soon as he gets that one dinner, things are gonna work out, and they really need it.
Yeah, they really need it, and I respect that as well. He says, well, we need to get the momentum going, right? We need to get out of the gate swinging because we are so far behind. We just saw Poland there. Another bit of a surprise was the 50 points right now, very close to third as well, and firmly in that pack towards the qualifying teams. But they've got a lot of placement points, but they haven't been as impressive as some of the other teams around them, I would say, especially when it comes to eliminations. So they'll have to prove it today that they belong there. And a team that's I think the polar opposite to them would be Romania, who really have been fragging a whole lot. They had 2 games back-to-back with 12 elims, where I think Poland has not a single game just breaking the double digits, and had a lot of 1 and 2 elim games. So completely opposite sort of approaches to the game, but very close to each other on the leaderboard, kind of showing that, yes, there's different strategies, but they can all work.
Yeah, and there we have it. Koa, Mellors, Maksha, and Bishke, the guys that unfortunately just haven't really caught up to the success that they had last year. Once again, it is still possible. You were talking about Romania and Moldova being that, though, on the leaderboard to kind of saying this one as well. And to some degree, if you're that far down, I mean, yes, we said it's going to be possible with the dinner, but to some degree, the rest of the teams will also need to slow down somewhat, because at the moment it is really top heavy. And we said there was only going to be one real spot left between all these top teams, which is the spot that Belarus is in right now, because the rest of the teams will just be too consistent to be caught up, especially from someone who's like 30 points down. Yeah. But then again, I mean, we've seen crazier stories, but I kind of feel like that's going to ring true. Spain here, I got to talk about them for a second as well. Similar story, rather unexperienced lineup, I want to say, but good players as well, and they just really haven't been able to catch anyone really either. Crazy Vasquez, Memphis, and obviously Carrasco, who's the 5th player. I don't think he's playing in this one. I don't see him here right now, but he's a big part of this as well. And I hope they're gonna, I don't know, could at least continue to show ambition, and that's what they've been doing yesterday, and that's what I really admire as well. They've shown initiative to take some fights just straight up head on, and maybe that's gonna work out same way it did for Azerbaijan. I mean, these guys were struggling as well, and then they really showed up in one of these rounds, and they're still in contention now.
They still are, and a team that's not just in contention, a team that's one of the favorites that basically locked their slot in is Turkey. And I think they really proved us yesterday. They were really showing us why they are a favorite and why they deserve to be one. I think maybe we even see 2 spots fought for, but Turkey is not one of them. Turkey and Ukraine back to back, 1st and 2nd. These guys are locked in. France probably as well, but Turkey and Ukraine, no doubt in my mind, not even close. These guys will go to the World Esports Championship, and they deserve to be there. We're going to look at post-match stats. So basically, we're looking at team stats for every winner of each match. And I think that's going to tell a pretty interesting story, because our first SANHOK, right, it started for the Ukraine. It didn't start like a crazy match. They got a few elims, sure, 11 of them. They didn't do a ton of damage except for Havlik, who's got 930. But the way they won the first match was pretty much just clean rotations. And, well, you can say the same for the second match, can you?
Yeah, kind of the same story. Poland took home that second match. They were really fortunate to have that position northern side of Pochinki relatively early on, and they just never let go of it. They fought Germany for it. I said yesterday, maybe things could have gone very differently for Germany as well. If they would have won that fight, if the first initial 2 knocks would not have gone the way of Poland, I think it would have been way better for them. They potentially would have secured that round as well, and that would have been a confidence boost that they really so desperately needed. But this time around, it has been Poland, unfortunately, that won that fight. Unfortunately for any Polish fan, they made quick work with what they've been given and secured that round as well. Good stuff.
Yeah, now this is the record breaker, right? This is the crazy, crazy Erangel game that Turkey was able to take away. 24 frags, an insane amount of damage dealt. I feel like the damage received stat there, that's a bug. That's not actually how that panned out, but crazy amounts of damage done, crazy amount of points gathered, and that's just a super impressive game. Super impressive game. Ukraine, they win, I think, 2 or 3 games even. I think Ukraine won 3 games yesterday, but none of them was as crazy as that Turkey win.
Yeah, no, I gotta even look back and count because of how many good rounds we've had from Ukraine. Even if they didn't win any of these rounds, we still would have had them, I think, in our minds, just based off of how much they were fragging out on these edges and how smart they rotated. And I talked to the coach as well, Bambini. He's been saying, yes, they want to take top 1 in Europe for the 4th time in a row, and well, you can tell they're doing a good job with that. They're doing a really good job. And there we have it. Yeah, the 3rd one, I believe it is Ukraine there with the last dinner of the day. 700 damage, an old boy, but a massive performance. But then, once again, it's been Tulika as well who's been shining on through. I know he hasn't been impactful as much in the first dinners, but in this one, he really was some pretty important frags. And I think it was the last one to actually close it out. I think him or Havlik actually were the ones to take that last one.
I think it was Tulika. Yeah.
I think it was Tulika as well.
He really popped off. He really popped off and cleaned up everything that was left on that server. He was just like pop, 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 pop. You're out. Yeah, I was just crazed by what Turkey did in that game 3. But at the end of the day, you have to respect Ukraine for just being better overall, right? Just winning a few more games, making sure to close out chicken dinners. The Gatka game comes to mind where. Yes, they make it a little bit too close for comfort, maybe, but they do close that out as well. And that Miramar game at the end, they had no right to win it, but they were just better than Belarus in that situation, and they were just taking control and making sure they had every angle to close that out. So they've been stellar yesterday, but the exciting part, I feel like, begins at the 3rd place in the leaderboard. The exciting part, if France starts really slow, then it begins at slot 3. If France comes out the gate swinging, maybe we even start at the 4th and 5th rank. But that's where it's super contested, and that's where I feel like literally everybody in the lobby has a chance. Like you said, Serbia win the first game, they're absolutely in there. They absolutely have a chance to make it into that top 5.
Yeah, same goes for everyone down towards the second part of the leaderboard. But they need to start early, and that's what it comes down to. Once again, it's open, yes. 3 spots, I want to say, are open, but only really if you start out right away. It's only 6 chances. And SANHOK, out of all of these, unfortunately, to some degree, because we've seen how it went yesterday, is going to be the first map. And that's always a little bit random to some degree. Sometimes rotations and circles in a 21-team lobby just like that just won't work out perfectly if there's just too many angles on you. And that can happen sometimes even without your direct control. I mean, that's why so many players have been saying, you know, this map will be fine if it isn't played anymore, but and this time around it's the big X factor in this qualification. I love to see it. Yesterday, I gotta say, I was surprised. We saw less contests on SANHOK that we saw on Erangel and Miramar. So in this instance, I'm actually completely fine with it. It felt like a relatively fair game, which I didn't expect with the prerequisites that we had going into this.
It's going to be interesting. Because even if you maybe, I feel like there's, like you said, it's a little random as the game is. But even if you don't get the circle, even if you don't get fed, if you're a team like Serbia, you get yourself 8 elims, you're almost doubling your points. You're not really, but you're getting 50% of what you had yesterday, right? So they can make big jumps just by winning a few fights or a couple of fights, 2 team fights where you actually clean wipe and you're going from 18 to 26. That's a big jump, and that's a big boost in confidence as well. So they just need to get something going, and so does any team towards the bottom side of the leaderboard. Ukraine, on the other hand, jumping out in a very chill area once again. Lots of space for them. They've been really cruising through these early games yesterday, Felix.
Yeah, they've been cruising through these early games. Ukraine, to be fair, did have hot drops on Erangel, and once again, I talked to them. Yeah, one of them. I talked to them, and actually in between 3rd and 4th match, I was like, are you going to continue contest this? And he was like, yeah, maybe not the next game. And they literally won the very next game, if you remember correctly. Yeah. It's literally been that exact round that they didn't contest it again. And once again, I can understand why in a best of 12 scenario, you don't necessarily need to fight for it yet. If you really want to fight for it when you get to LAN, and that was the outlook at that point, then actually do it on LAN or do it in scrims. But make sure you secure qualification first and foremost. And that's what they did. So massive, massive congrats once again to Ukraine. They're playing their hearts out. And yeah, I feel like the difference right now to Turkey, it's not big, but it feels like it's that little bit of a difference in terms of what you want to achieve. I think Turkey's just going to be fine with the top 5. They didn't necessarily care as much. They just want to have a good showing, have some fun. But Ukraine, once again, I talked to them, they want to be the one European team. I feel like that's just the tiny bit of difference between these two teams going in for today.
We'll have to wait and see. Like you said, right? One hot drop, they essentially lose it, but I think they still got themselves 7 elims or something in that game. So they can definitely afford to hot drop as well when they're doing so well in the other games. So it's an interesting story because, yes, I mean, you could afford to hot drop if you're Ukraine. You could afford to hot drop if you're Turkey. But what is the point if you're both going to make it to finals anyway, and then you don't want to contest in the finals? You're playing versus some of the best nations in the world, right? You don't want to be contesting a loot spot versus your European colleagues. So it's really not an easy question to answer if you do leave that hot drop or if you stay. Both of them would benefit from leaving, but if you're the one leaving, the other one gets the loot spot and also isn't contested anymore, right? So you're kind of just giving it up, and you're just helping the others more than you're helping yourself. There's a hot drop though. There's Serbia, but I don't even know. Okay, they are well aware, and they are even getting the first knock. Bishke is the one to pick it up, and Serbia is starting like we wanted them to, Felix.
Yeah. Oh my lord, that was not Bishke, that was Koa actually. So do not be fooled by what we just witnessed, but a good spray nonetheless. I think that was a big distance. Still on Koa as well. Yeah, that's a good range. Maybe they actually both shot at him at the same time, and that's why he went down that fast. But either way, it is Hungary taking down to 2 players very early on. And yeah, Serbia, that's what they need. That's the start they needed as well. And look what they have. They have boot camp as well. Out of all the loot spots you want to have on SANHOK going into this, you want to have boot camp. And you got it with 2 additional frags. So massive, massive stop. They're going to try and clean up the last player. Little do they know, no one's even going to be close to this. So they don't necessarily even need to rotate up the hill to get this one. Good start from Serbia. They said they wanted to start with the chicken dinner. This is a good pathing.
Do they spot the play on the island? Yes, they do. And that's a third. That's a third. Now they know it's just one up.
And the water as well.
Yeah, they have no idea about this. They don't know that the last guy is swimming, but now at least they know. Okay, we've taken down 3. We can go for the flush, and they're playing power in numbers. I love this. They're essentially a death ball here, running up that hill, right? They're just making sure we don't want to lose a member. We don't want anyone to get flushed. Turkey's in the kill feed picking up 1, and I feel like Germany is about to be on the left side of the kill feed there. Crazy's been spotted by 0, and that nade is doing a good bunch of damage. Not enough to get the knock, but he can lob out a second. Crazy has no idea what's hitting him here.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. He's running. Oh, he's proning towards 0, and 0's going to pick that one up. Good, quick flush coming out from Germany. And, well, this is a good start for both these teams down on the second part of the leaderboard. We said they needed to step things up. I didn't expect that to happen so early, but looks like it does. First game, first phase, and both of these contenders with 2 and a frag each.
Yeah, and there should definitely be a third one for Serbia as well, right? They're 100% getting that confirmed. The question is, do they find a 4th? I don't think so. The question is also, how much time do they spend getting that third confirmed? Because that guy's on an island in a house, right? You don't want to go flush him. It costs you so much. But we'll have to wait and see what that is. And like we said, even just decent games are big jumps on the scoreboard. Just look at that live scoreboard on the bottom right there. Serbia getting themselves 8 more points, jumps them up from 14th to 10th, right? Like, that's a big jump on the leaderboard, and that's a big jump for your mentality as well. That really feels good when you've been so far to the bottom the whole of the day. So yeah, have to wait and see what they're able to achieve, but this is a really, really good start from... They've gotten the res. Hungary swam back and got the res, Felix.
I feel like Serbia's going to go for it, though. I saw 2 players being relatively close towards the small island now. They just got to be careful of not throwing it away. Because if you continue taking these types of fights, at some point, the probability is quite high that you will make a mistake, but realistically, that shouldn't happen. Spain, though, finds revenge on that last player that they lost. If not against Germany, then against Luxembourg, who will be taken out. They've unfortunately yet to secure a point. And as thus, they will be once again eliminated. Good picker coming out from Spain. They need that as well. 18 points. They will tie things. But these frags being secured with Germany.
Turkey is in a wild scuffle already. They've lost a member. They've gotten down 2.
Almost.
Now it's another one knocked. It's wild going down. They're not quite ready for what's coming to their doorstep. They were cruising around, being quite aggressive, but they're looking to be punished right now. And this is going to be a pretty slow start for the second place on the leaderboard. Losing 2 members for 2 elims, you would never deem that worthy. And ooh, Bandita, he's continuing the long-range sprays. That's Croatia losing 1.
Good stuff from Bulgaria. And this time around, it's not just Icy fragging out, it is, as you said, Bandita as well, who's charming in. We have more frags happening now. Montenegro, relatively centralized position. Both these teams wouldn't necessarily need to fight. They're both very well within phase 1. But they're deciding to do so anyways. It's a pretty good spot. Even possible to coexist, but once again, they're not trying to do so. They are trying to take these isolated fights. And that's one team that is also, once again, in the top 5 of teams at the moment. It is Belarus. Even though very closely, 48 points, you can see. Romania and Moldova right behind them, but that frag is going to increase that distance at least by 1 point.
It's a really good third party as well. You could see they can't go for the reses here, Montenegro. They can't really do anything about this because they have just another team on their doorstep right there. They were winning the fight versus Belgium, but they can't really appreciate that at all. Ukraine losing 1 to France is an interesting set of news for the leaderboard as well. And Ukraine quickly decides, we're getting the hell out of there. Tulika doesn't want to take a 1 versus X. He just wants to be with the team, group back up, heal back up, and potentially have a good game out of this compound.
Czech Republic trying to look towards Ukraine here. Plenty of teams have already found themselves a pretty good spot inside phase 2 here as well. Germany being one of them. They've secured northeastern side of things. And good for them. The zone luckily has shifted towards the northeastern side as well. So they will be quite fine just playing off of that edge. By the looks of it, no one's really trying to rotate towards that eastern side and kind of enter their zone either. So means Germany might have a pretty good entry now. And I want to touch on Serbia really quickly. Because we said they were in a similar situation, but then in terms of the phase at least, it's quite different. Wow, what? Oh, he loses that fight. I was so ready to call Montenegro getting a cheeky kill there, but it didn't happen. DBS in hand. That's what happens if you're not too focused on it. You might think you've won it already, but you really didn't. And Montenegro is going to be taken out relatively early. That's 10th place. There's also another team that can be caught up to.
That's a team you could pass on the leaderboard. That's a team out of a chance to make it closer to that top 5. A team in the top 5 is Portugal, and they're getting 4-man pull-upped by the Spanish roster. The nades are already out. Glunked is going to try to get one around the corner, but he does have to be a little careful. Utah's coming back as well, and the push is coming out. They're trying to clear the building. This nade could be absolutely massive. That's at least a 50 damage nade. He has to have the DBS in hand. Finds one around the corner. The one inside the building's already knocked. The team support is coming in, and Spain is just getting absolutely crushed on this approach. Doesn't matter if it's Glonk. Doesn't matter if it's someone else. There's just one player left standing, and that should be all but over in a matter of seconds here, Felix. And ooh, the lineup's not too bad, but the trades are there. And Poland holds strong. They've been good at this. They've been good at holding down their compounds, Felix. They've not been crazy at taking other compounds, but remember the breach in the second game yesterday? They've done a really good job at holding people out from their compounds.
Yeah, Ked right there doing massive amounts of work. Having the angles down just perfectly. Finding that play towards the right side. I think it was Vasquez, actually. We took down as the first player. Was, yeah, super important. Good stuff from Poland. These are the types of frags that Poland is able to continuously pick up relatively cleanly. Like, there's no real problem in picking these frags up so far. And that's just, unfortunately, really typical for Germany. Being caught out in the open and losing a player just like that. Even though there was no necessity for it to happen, like, at all. Yeah. It's going to slow down their advances towards the northeastern side. And to be honest, judging by their position, they really needed 4 players, depending on how the next zone shifts. But one thing's for certain. If you don't have 4 players fighting in towards the eastern side, it's going to be relatively tough.
You can't overstate how much it hurts to lose a player. It's just, like there's so much a player can do throughout the rest of the game, throughout the 5 phases that you still have coming at you. The amount of utility you can use, the amount of info you can gather, the amount of pressure you can put on other teams, the amount of everything a player can do. And the earlier you lose them, the more of that you lose, and the tougher that is. So it really stings for Germany to keep losing players like that. It's a similar story for a lot of the teams that you see on the right side of the leaderboard here, especially losing 2 is absolutely crucial. But then if you lose 2 and you're sitting in a center spot, you're not super upset about it because at least you're sitting in a position to chill in. If you're sitting on the edge, you really need everything you can to try and push away other teams, to try and claim some space for yourself. And like you said, it just hampers you so much practically and mentally.
Does indeed. Belarus is trying to scout forwards towards the center of the circle. They're positioning themselves towards the eastern side, obviously. They've secured that big compound just north of Poland. Albania is on that edge as well. Germany should be north of them, but as I'm saying that, they're rotating into Romania. That's just not a team you want to meet. They have fragged out quite massively, and they will make quick work of Germany as well. Germany eliminated just like that. Losing Ghosty there too early, and then that breach seemed to be a little bit uncoordinated as well. I feel like they wanted just a tad bit too much, and potentially weren't even aware of Romania being in there. And yeah, to be honest, that's just it's a tough compound to breach as well. I mean, that building, it might have been a split, so if Germany knew that, it might have even been a pretty good idea to breach that, but with the sightlines from up top, they never really got towards the building, and if that doesn't happen, if you're just standing outside of it, the sightline's just too good to defend it.
Like, you just need to have a player on the hill above, and that compound is incredibly hard to breach, right? Like, you can provide so much support and so much info for the players inside, so the player inside is able to pick up 2, and then with Lawrence from the top who picked up the 3rd, so no problem there for Romania at all. Solid hold and a really rough breach for the Germany squad, and they are once again going outside of the placement point. 17 teams left. We're about to go towards stage 4, and we still have more teams than you'd normally have. So this is just to give you an idea why so many teams are fighting early, why so many teams are struggling early. This map right now is still super stacked, even though we've already lost a 4th of the lobby.
Yeah, really is. Next zone is gonna close, and I feel like we're going to have a good idea on who's going to be favored to win this one. France has not had to move throughout the entirety of this game. They've just been standing strong in Paradise Resort.
Look at the 3 teams in the middle. Ukraine, France, Turkey.
Oh, wow.
The triangle of the center.
Good thing for anyone else is, though, Ukraine has lost a player and Turkey's lost 2. But does that really matter with the amount of frag-heavy players that they have still alive? I'm not so sure.
I'm saying at some point, it becomes good when the top teams keep getting points. Because you're going to be competing for 4th and 5th. So you're happy if the top 3 is sponging up a lot of points. That means you need to get less to catch up, right? Moldova on the pull-up. Hungary on the short side of things. And that's the first point for the Codex roster, who are going to be trying to make their way towards a Paradise Resort. Or Palace, excuse me. Paradise Resort? Where did that come from?
And I'm still surprised that we have 16 teams alive at this point. Gotta be honest. Next breach comes on through. It is Turkey defending it, and 2 quick frags. They might even have a chance of winning this one. Poland just runs on in. I think Oxy's down to a 1-1 now. He's tied up the last player. It's just 1 DBI shot that's needed, and he does it. How do they continue doing so much damage, even as a 2-man? Absolutely absurd. And once again, Turkey shows us why they are deemed so dangerous. Loxley with the DBS there, finding the last 2 frags. Massive, massive work coming out from the Turkish squad, as they will once again eliminate direct opposition. They will take the first spot with that fight as well.
That's some crazy work with the DBS there, and that's exactly what I've been saying, right? This is what you want to see if you're fighting for 4th and 5th. You love to see Turkey just 2v4 wiping out Poland. That makes things so much easier if you're Romania, if you're Moldova, if you're any of these teams trying to catch on up. And right now, that is Romania. Right now, Romania is picking up frag after frag after frag. Belarus is already down to just 1. Moldova has just been wiped off the SANHOK map, so they're the ones on the pull-up. They're the ones trying to close the gap. And on the other side of things, it's Bulgaria that's once again in the backpack of Icy.
Yeah, Icy, ooh, gets found though. Even though Georgia is in a heavy fire from all sorts of angles. And I think Icy has been eliminated now as well. I think Icy, he's not been eliminated, actually, never mind me, but I think it's going to be really tough to get him depending on how Georgia's going to play this. But the nades do hit, and I think Georgia's been eliminated, actually, just like that. Good nades now. I don't think we caught the end of that, but apparently the nades did everything they needed to do, and they will clean up that edge. Next potential entry is the compound towards Turkey. Now, sure, they have successfully won a 2v4 already, but fighting off another 3-man from Bulgaria as a lone wolf, I think that might even be a tiny bit too much for Turkey at this point. But yeah, depending on how Bulgaria goes on rotate, I think that fight is going to happen.
Watching the Albanian squad run up that hillside as well. They're looking for a close range fight. They're looking to engage on whatever they find in their way, and that might just be Turkey. Armenia on the complete other side of the circle. They've been sitting pretty for a few phases. Now they have to start making their move. They will have to move towards France. Lots of space still in front of them, though. This side of the circle has been relatively clear, so they should be able to make their way on in and figure out what they do from here. Serbia as well, we saw them there for a second. Still alive. There's still a potential for this to go exactly like you planned.
Good shots coming out from Tulika. It's trying to find some of these players that have to kind of cross the open distance to get towards the last building that's inside the safe zone. But the longer Czech Republic survives, the better it's going to be, because everyone else still needs to rotate in all around Ukraine as well. Ukraine is going to have their hands full with all these teams. You can tell Albania, for example, and then there's more players towards the eastern side as well, just down the street that will need to move in as well. So Ukraine has to be careful of not getting caught off guard from multiple enemies. But right now, their building looks mighty fine. Not really anyone able to close the distance just yet, and due to the fact that it's obviously third person, I think it's going to be really tough to kind of surprise them at this point. I feel like they've got a good idea on who's playing all around them.
They got a good idea, and I think they have a good split as well. They have one player holding the north, and then two players holding the east, and we saw that there for a second. Observers were able to show us they're getting a little bit of help from France as well. France has some really, really long-range angles towards Albania. That's going to make things even easier for that squad. Armenia has now been found by Serbia. That could be an opening knock that they want to engage on. That could be an opening knock that they want to push on, and you can see just Czech Republic, they're struggling so much. They had one building left out of the circle in this compound, but they have zero space to actually maneuver in and make plays. There's the push from Serbia, though, and that could be exactly what they need. A few good nades here, a good opening, Felix, and maybe they get rolling. Maybe
they do get rolling. I feel like it's a good play as well. I think it's a frag play as well. They actively want to engage this, and look who's doing the frags. I feel like it is Malas, actually. We've just been seeing is unfortunately been traded out by Looney, but more frags are coming on in. And so far, if I interpret that correctly, no flush against Serbia though, as they are now closing distance. Maksha gets the last one. No, it's not been a flush. That's a good cleanup against Armenia. It's what they needed, and no one's really there to the party. I think France has moved all the way towards the eastern side of the buildings already, so that means no sidelines on towards any of these reses. They will be back as a full foreman.
France is mighty busy with Romania at the same time, right? That's the reason they can't just switch out there and go for a third party really quick. They are holding the last bit of ground they have in Paradise to try and hold out Romania and to try and keep some positioning for themselves. So easy reses for Serbia, and a player lost for France means this fight versus Romania is not going to be easy for them. They both have a little bit of ground left in the circle. I'm not sure who's going to be playing into this phase more easily, but they're stuck with each other, and that gives Serbia quite a bit of time to actually make moves around them.
Yeah. More shots coming out from Albania there, who have been in a really tough spot for, I want to say, the last 2-3 phases. They need to continuously move from east to west. And they've crossed Poland and all these other teams, at least for a short and brief period of time as a result of that. But it worked out Perfectly up until this
Oh,
point.
no.
Now there's a nade. It's an own nade, actually. It knocks 2 players from Romania. And oh my
God.
goodness, Romania might have just lost themselves the round because now Robsy is coming in. He's going to clean up 1, 2, maybe even 3 frags. That is just clean gifts for France. And he's going to pick up the last one as well. What have we just witnessed? That is disastrous for Romania. They throw away this round. They would have been the only team besides Serbia as well to come out of this one as a full foreman, but they just cannot make it work. Lawrence with that 1 nade, unfortunately, ruining their chances.
Oh, that hurts so badly. Mistakes can happen, but rarely do they hurt this much. They had the opening knock towards France as well. They had everything they needed, and then they wanted to throw a bit of good util to buy them the space they needed, and it goes all sorts of wrong. Albania, no space at all. Serbia is completely rolling, by the way, 10 elims in the top 3. But they still have to make a bit of a move here towards the cover that Ukraine is playing. And oh boy, this could have been France all the way. It could have been Romania all the way, excuse me. But, ay.
That's a big mistake, unfortunately. Gotta say like that. I very rarely point out mistakes just like that. But I mean, we haven't really seen the full picture. Maybe there was some kind of reason why he needed to throw that nade, or why it had to be timed that way. Maybe he's been shot at in the same kind of second, so he couldn't really throw it. I mean, multiple things could have happened. But as a matter of fact, unfortunately, Romania is going to be out of this one as a result. Albania now being eliminated as well. That means Serbia, and I've talked about this at the beginning of this game. They said, and I talked to Melas, they said they want to win the first game to make the comeback happen. It's such an experienced roster. It's such a strong roster as well. And now there's just 3 angry Ukrainian players on the other side left to make it happen as well. Ukraine, they want to take the 1 spot in Europe. They want to overtake Turkey. They've done so again in this round, but there's going to be more needed. A quick trade, 1v1 actually, as Maxa goes down as well. It's a 2v2 trade, but I think 1 player in Ukraine has been taken down. That just means it's all boy. Against 2 players now from Serbia left standing.
Oh, he's looking for the 1v2. He's putting out good damage. He's dodging and weaving, but I'm not sure if he can do this. Serbia, they started off with a win just like they promised. What is that?
Unbelievable is that. I'm telling you, Kovo, that is unbelievable. We might have another contender, and I talked about this. That was the biggest upset yesterday. We even said it after the games. We looked at the global overall leaderboard, and we said, Serbia, what the hell are they doing all the way down there? That is not supposed to happen in a best-of-6 that we've seen yesterday. And they come out swinging just like that. I said they wanted to make it happen, and they did. My goodness, did they start this off strong?
Yeah.
Just the way they finished it.
They started right. They started with a good fight. Yeah, we talked about it, right? Close together, death balling up that hill, making sure they trade each other, making sure that even if there's somebody in a weird position, they won't lose a player for it. And they do that super, super cleanly. And then I think they bide their time a little bit. They play a position. They don't going crazy. But as soon as they see weakness around them, right? 1 knock towards Armenia, they fly in. France and Romania struggle against each other. They fly in, and they're taking all that space. They were getting knocks towards Bulgaria on the road. They were getting knocks towards Albania. They were pretty much just making space all around them. And then in the end, it's a 4v3. You gotta win that.
Yeah.
It's not easy versus Ukraine, one of the best teams in the lobby. But they just clean trades, right? I felt like nobody was taking a 1v1 on the Serbia side. They were really just using their power and numbers. And a well-deserved win, and that's them right back into the conversation.
That's them right back into the conversation in terms of making a comeback happen. Good stuff. I mean, we were saying these guys, they have the potential to do so. And just like that, second day, first game, Serbia comes back with a massive win as well. It wasn't a gifted win either. They had to fight their way through. They had a big distance between, obviously, boot camp and then the ending circle just towards the east of Paradise Resort as well. Now, if that ending would have happened towards the south, I would have given them good chances just based off of the fact, where they were phase 1. But just like that, I mean, east side of it, it's really tough to get in there and rotate, and you have to fight so many teams. And as you said, that fight against Armenia just showed you they want to get into this. They want to do it. And yeah, we got to give it up for Koa, who's had such a big impact in this round. 5 frags for him, and obviously survived until the very end. Good stuff from Serbia. It's going to bring them back.
Yeah, that brings them back right into the conversation. Big stuff as well. We saw it on the stats there. It was a team effort, right? It wasn't anyone popping off like crazy. They had 5, 4, 3, and 2 or something. So like rather balanced kills, and a crazy round to bring them back, and a crazy round to reset the mental as well. I feel like all the doubts they had yesterday, all the struggles they had yesterday, pretty much gone at this point. and they do go
Wow.
from I think a 17th yesterday.
Yeah, 17th of
Something like
16th?
that. 15th, 16th. They go right up to 8th, and one more decent game, one more good game. Doesn't even have to be a win, and they're 5th here, right? So, like, I mean, okay, probably has to be a win. The other teams are not sleeping, but they're right back into the conversation. And a team like Moldova, that we were saying they're one of the favorites today, has been instantly passed. So, just the potential on some of these teams is crazy, and the things they can do in one game is absolutely mental.
Nothing short of amazing, to be honest. Nothing short of amazing. I didn't deem it possible, but they did. Once again, I talked to them yesterday. They told me they want to make a win in the very first game happen. I gotta be honest. Sure, some players tend to just throw that out there. These are not the types of players to just throw that out there. I feel like they genuinely believed in it, and you could tell just from phase 1, immediately hitting that switch, going, we need to frag these guys, we need to get into groove of things, especially considering they saw the phase 1 circle, and they realized if we take them out early, if we surprise them, it gives us a rotation path into the next phase anyway.
Yeah.
So that's another reason to do it. So also strategically, a really well played maneuver, just looking at phase 1 exclusively. Good stuff coming out from Serbia. I'm going to be excited to see how they continue this run now the next 5 games. But we'll be heading into a very short break before we'll be right back for match number 2.